This program is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
Hello and you're welcome to Business Highlights on Trust TV. My name is Chamun Dabeng and I'll be your host. On Business Highlights, we take a holistic look at business developments as well as economic policy implementations and how they affect the average Nigerian out there. Now, one of the most anticipated events on the Nigerian calendar is finally here. It's time for Nigerians to decide who will lead the nation in the 2023 general elections. And in the spirit of elections, today on the show, we will be looking at how Nigeria's political climate has affected the economy. We'll be getting into that right after the break.
This program is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
You're welcome back to Business Highlights on Trust TV. Now, as I said before we went on break, today on the show, we're going to be taking a look at politics and the Nigerian economy. And we're going to be looking at it from a few different angles, like the monetary, fiscal, and public policies. How has that affected the economy, as well as the effects of the election season on the Nigerian economy? Now, joining me in the studio today is political and economic analyst Joseph Ago and financial analyst Aliu Ilyas. You're both welcome to the show. All right.
Thank you for having us.
All right, so please tell me, we're in the election season. It is here at the moment. People are going to be coming out, they're voting, they're deciding who is going to be the next leader. Now, how important is this elections to Nigeria's economy? Joseph, you're going to start off this discussion for us.
I think the current election is probably the most consequential election since 1999. And probably even the most consequential election since the founding of the nation, because you have a lot of young people pretty much putting their eyes in these current elections. You know, in the past we've seen young people take the back seat when it comes to elections or political decision making and politics generally. But we've seen that is not no longer the case. We've seen a lot of young people interested in these elections. So, young people are drivers of any economy. So you need the energy, you need their creativity, you need their risk taking, you need the innovation that comes with the youthful phase of life, to really engineer and get the national economy really working. So I mean, it's really young person's perspective. In the midst of japaring, we've seen a lot of people running to other countries for a better future. So it's more or less a break or make situation. It's either this election is going to be that a springboard for an economic resurgence, or it's going to be perhaps maybe the straw that breaks the proverbial camel's back.
All right, so actually one of my favorite words for this year honestly has been jackpot. I have no idea why, but it's a very fun word to say. But of course the situation, not so much, because we're losing a lot of human capital, and that's a problem for us. Now, Dr. Ilya, coming from an economic standpoint, why are these elections so important to Nigeria's economy?
All right, thank you so much for having me. Politically, we have not been as educated as we are ever in terms of politics. You will recall that during Obasanjo period, people are not that educated. We just take everything hook, line, and sinker. But we have actually felt what democracy is all about. Coming from 23 years ago, we now have to decipher who will lead us, why should he lead us, does the person have the will without economically. And basically, let's come back to politics and economy. Now, Political economy simply means the interplay between politics and economy. Now, which one rely on the other? I must tell you that politics take lead, because politics will come, then economic policy will come. Now, whoever leads us politically is going to be a factor to what we're going to be seeing economically. So now, as it is now, we are looking for people that will take us at least to the promised land. Now we have 3-4 people looking at this. So economically, we are looking at their credential. Now, one is talking about moving from production to what? Consumption to production. Yes. One is talking about privatization. And one is talking about socialist economy, where, Keynesian theory and what have you. But the fact remains that we have to look at our country, what fits our country. It is not anything that you go and take somewhere and come and apply it in Nigeria. So looking at that, we must also look at where we are coming from. How has Buhari actually moved our economy? To what level is the next person taking the economy? These are the things we need to look at holistically.
All right, so Joseph brought up something interesting. He did talk about how this is going to be one of the most consequential elections since 1999. We have a lot of youths that are coming out to play in these elections. We've seen #EndSARS, where Nigerian youths were coming out in their full embodiment to protest a lot of the discrimination against them, as well as the Not Too Young to Run campaign. So we have Nigerian youths coming to the forefront. How do you think this is going to play out? Is this really what we need? We do have one of the candidates who has really gotten the attention of the Nigerian youth. Do we need somebody who is younger to, bring forth everything that the country needs?
The truth is the young people are angry, and they need that ventilation. And you don't say there's no better time than an election for that ventilation to really happen. So people can look at it from different angles, but this particular election is more or less a ventilation avenue for young people. Young people are looking at, of course, there's a particular candidate that seems to resonate amongst young people. So young people are looking at that candidate as setting up the structure, the necessary foundation so that they can have a fighting chance at realizing their dreams. The truth is that a lot of young people are leaving this country not for anything, but they don't see Nigeria really as that place that can really afford them that opportunity to really become the best versions of themselves. You look at education, you look at healthcare, you look at opportunities in employment, you look at even people that are not even looking at regular employment, they are going into entrepreneurship, how very, very harsh the Nigerian economy is to aspiring entrepreneurs. So this election season is ventilation. And it's not just young people, even people in the middle age. It's a season or if you like, a place where these people can really ventilate all the frustrations that they have gathered all through these years.
All right, Dr.
Right, yes.
I saw a smile just playing on your face.
Right.
He's just waiting for Joseph to finish. Let me say my own.
My dear friends tilt towards young people maybe dominating a particular part. That conception is quite very wrong. I must tell you that these three political parties has the young population. So it is wrong to assume that young population are going to vote for particular person.
Yes.
Perhaps most of these parties are even much more organized, that they have a structure that is mainly for the youth. You understand? Let's look at the name. APC has youth structure already. So youth will also vote for APC. Youth will also vote for PDP. There will be youth in Labour Party and NNP and among other parties. So if you think that most people want to vent and they will go and vote one person, we are not that wired as at this level now. Because as we are talking, other party are also giving them what they are going to offer to the youth. All I want to say is that Nigeria need to move beyond where we are.
Yes.
But that expecting that maybe if it's one person that will bring the solution, it's a very big country. That would usually look at even only the leader, the countryside, who lead those states, who are in National Assembly. This is where we can really get it. Now, the president will always tell you that I've pushed restructure to the national assembly, it is their duty. But I must tell you, we cannot veto. The president cannot veto restructuring. It has to also take it back to the national. So we must not look at the center only. Sometimes we also need to look at all the areas. Then when you talk about Japan, the economy globally has not been as bad as this. So it's not a Nigerian factor only. It's a global problem. So when you're talking about Japan, other people in other countries are also trying to move. However, what are the things that we have done to cushion the effect in Nigeria? That is the question. That people will not want to go to other countries to go and work, it cannot stop. People still move from India to America, from America to other countries. So it's just the volume that we are looking at. And I'm sure with good economic policy, people may decide to be here.
All right. So right now we have a 33% unemployment within the country. I believe youth unemployment is at 24.5%. We're seeing scores and scores of Nigerians, not even just Nigerian youths, Nigerians of many different ages are actually japping from the country.
Right.
Now we're losing human capital from the tech sector, from the medical sector, from the teaching, exactly. So many losses. Now what do we need to do to reduce these losses? What should the leaders, the next set of leaders coming in, do to reduce this issue of japa in Nigeria?
All right. Now, when President Muhammadu Buhari came in, the unemployment was around 9%. Now, it is about 33%. Definitely, there is a big gap that there is need. We need to have a very I don't even envy whoever become the president economically, because he has to hit the ground run. What I think went wrong is that, we closed our border at a particular time. Closing that border and looking at 41 products, banning them, really give us serious issue, because the inflow that's supposed to come did not come. So it affects the inflation. A lot of things are so. But to really create a job, I think we should focus on our MSME, because this MSME employ over 50%. And if you look at that category, we have youth more in that category. So there's need for us to empower them. The present government will say they have worked on Empower, a lot of program to empower the youth, but it goes beyond that.
Yes.
You must provide a structure. For instance, we have ease of doing business. Now, as ease of doing business translates to more employment, these are what we should look at. Then we should not be doing those things in paper. Supply chain in Nigeria is a problem. Taking a product from the Tinkan Island wharf to the core north, the supply chain process, taking a 40-feet container from there to, the cost of it. These are what we must look at to create much more employment for Nigerian youth. Because we must move on out of the white-collar job. There are other things that we need to do. Then we must also look at manufacturing. And that major factor that this current government got wrong was interest rates. Interest rates has discouraged manufacturing sector from producing, and if they don't produce, there wouldn't be job, and MSME will not have to supply them products and services. So I think they need to look at that interest rate. Very, very key for government to look into it.
All right, Joseph, what do you think? What do we do about the japa issue in the country?
I think there are fundamental points. The first a big issue is security. Security is, People would think about making money. The moment they start making money, they start fearing for their lives. So they take the 3 million, 7 million, 8 million, 10 million, and start applying to leave the country because, they've gathered wealth and they are now vulnerable. So security is one issue.
Yes.
The next government should also see how they can get a lot of young people involved in agriculture. Agriculture is still the largest sector of the economy. In terms of number of people involved in it. So we need to really get young people involved in agriculture. We need to also look at agriculture in all the points in the agricultural value chain. We also need to focus on small and medium scale enterprises. We're talking about access to financing. We're talking about infrastructure, key infrastructure that these businesses rely on. For example, we are being forced by the government to go cashless. Look at fail rates with electronic transactions. So a lot of businesses are evolving into that cashless system, but a lot of these businesses are struggling because that infrastructure is really not strong enough to hold that much volume. So we're talking about tech infrastructure, we're talking about the roads, we're talking about even investments in education. We're seeing a lot of young people coming out of our universities, but the question is, are these certificates, certifications, that can really get our economy up and running? You see, I mean, I'm not trying to vilify or talk bad about any course.
Yes.
But there are some courses that are not necessary economic drivers. We need to see this, look at the skill sets that we need to really get our economy up and running, and make adequate investments in our educational institutions to ensure that these schools produce these skill sets and not just give them certificates. These people also have the know-how to really function in these areas.
All right, so we'll take a short break at that point, and when we come back, we're going to be looking at other factors. We're going to be taking a look at Nigeria's FX issues, Nigeria's oil production, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
This program is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.
You're welcome back to Business Highlights on Trust TV. My name is Chamunda Bank, and I'm still here with political and economic analyst Joseph Ago, as well as financial analyst Dr. Aliyu Ilyas. And we're currently taking a look at politics and the Nigerian economy. So right now, we're going to be focusing on some of the economic challenges that we faced throughout the years, and one of them is our oil production. We saw oil production struggle for, let's say, like the past 2 years, where our numbers kept dropping and dropping, and this was largely due to thefts, of course, vandalism of oil properties. So now this situation with our figures dropping and of course affecting our FX issues, what should the next set of leaders be looking towards in regards to fixing this issue? As we know, Nigeria is heavily dependent on oil for foreign exchange, and of course we've seen the effects. We've seen banks basically revoke Nigerian cards from conducting foreign transactions and all of that, and there's a lot of struggle for businesses to even get their hands on the dollar. So you have people who are dependent on importation, trying to get their hand on the dollar so that they can make the orders necessary for their own production. So what next? What should leaders be watching out for? Please, let's start with you, Joseph.
All right, so oil theft is a major issue. So we need to see how we can utilize technology to really address the issues of oil theft or issues around oil theft. And going beyond that, we should also look at refining, local refining. We have dodged that subject for so long because of how much money we're making from selling crude oil. So we should begin to look at local refining, whether with Dangote refinery, maybe retooling the refineries, the 5 refineries that we have that are under the control of the NNPC, or looking at modular refineries to meet industrial needs, because there are industries across Nigeria that need diesel, for example, to run production. And modular refinery is one way of addressing these specific industrial needs. We should look at technology in crude oil or crude oil production. We should also see how we can utilize or get local refining up and running.
All right, Dr. Ilyas, now what do you think about this situation? Nigeria's issues with oil has caused several different, other issues compounded to what we already have. What should the next leaders be watching for?
Well, if you ask me, I think the people contesting to become our president now had opportunity. They are the most prepared people for governance. Now, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar has been prepared over time to become Nigerian president. Tinubu has been planning to become president. Obi has been, and Kwankwaso. So what we need is that we need economic plan. Remember, the Buhari came with ERGP, Economic Recovery and Growth Plan, and after that it was 2017 to 2019. Then at 2020 they came with a National Development Plan. How many Nigerians key into this development plan? So we have seen the worst of the economy now. They need to come and plan for short term, long term, short term, medium term, and long term. If they can sit down, get all this plan appropriately, they have the benchmark for oil. We have seen the wars. We have seen the wars of global crisis. We have seen war. So they should use this basis to plan for Nigeria, coming to oil sector, energy sector, agricultural sector. If they put all this in perspective, perhaps when you are planning, you also have another plan in case of any force majeure. I think the major problem of Nigeria or globally is what? Force majeure, act of God, like COVID-19. Yes. These are the problems that we should foresee. So they should come up with economic plan that will take, and it must be domesticated, right? If you remember Obasanjo needs, there was need, there was seed, it was adopted from federal government to state to what? To local government. So if there could be an economic plan from anybody who emerged the president, this will help a long way to plan and to have, because Nigerians are very interesting people. Once you give us a policy that we know that this is what we are going to do, we plan and everybody adjusted. Yes. We Nigeria have seen the wars. We have seen the wars of Naira. We have seen the wars of everything. So anything you bring now, we'll plan ourselves and plan ahead. If it's 2027, you want this to everybody will start planning. So I think the next person that is coming should come with economic plan that has human face. That's sort of I like
coming in with a proper economic plan. So far we've seen a bunch of or a lot of lofty ideas, but there's always a question around methodology. Yeah. How implementable are your methodologies when it comes to the Nigerian situation? But yes, I would also like to look into FDI within the country. We've seen major oil companies exiting Nigeria. We've seen even the issue with ShopRite, where they basically sold the business to a Nigerian owner. We're seeing a lot of issues within that area. So looking into boosting FDI, what should the next set of leaders be preparing for? And not only that, there is a need to discuss Nigeria's foreign and local debt, of course. This is going to be something that the next set of leaders are going to be looking into. So let's start off with you, Mr. Joseph.
All right, so the issue of FDI, foreign direct investment. These investors, for example, are like we're in election season, and these investors are looking at elections and to see what the outcomes will look like and what that outcome will mean economically. We've seen elections where the results led the stock market to tank. We've seen election results that made the stock market to experience an uptick. So regarding FDI, there are fundamental ingredients that would attract foreign direct investment. The issue of human resource, how skilled are your human resource in that area? We have seen the examples with the train, how Chinese contractors brought a lot of skilled workers to set up these train infrastructure, because the excuse was that which university in Nigeria was producing engineers that can really fill some of these human resource gaps. So human resource is an issue. The other issue is infrastructure. There's power issue. There is transportation. There's so many other infrastructural issues. So that also needs to be addressed. Security is a very, very big issue. You bring your investments and let's assume there is war or there's some local conflict, and we've seen how, in Ogun State, how some young people just walk into a bank and steal everything, burn cars and all that stuff. Investors will look at this to say, really? Are these people really serious? Then also, we're looking at rule of law. businesses come into Nigeria, they seek partnership with the local businesses, they sign agreements, and somehow, somewhere, some people don't meet parts of that agreement, and the local partner takes the foreign investor takes the matter to court. The local partner takes a bag of money and gives to a judge, and the judge rules. And a very, very illogical and very unfair ruling. So, rule of law is also something that should also be looked at.
All right, Dr. Aliu, let's hear from you. We don't have a lot of time left.
All right, like he rightly mentioned, I think first and foremost, security is very, very vital. No investor will come to unsafe environments to invest. However, we also have to look at something. If you look at most investors in Nigeria, they came with portfolio investment. That's what the government needs to look at. Most of them don't bring their proper investment. They came here with paper and use our bank's money to also invest in Nigeria. So that's another thing they need to look at. And they also need to caution repatriation. The level at capital flight goes out. So we must have stake at every business. Perhaps if you are to invest in Nigeria, let Nigeria have 20% of the investment, because that will give us interest in what you have and we invest in it. Then you cannot stop companies from deciding to leave your country or not to leave. It depends on them. Perhaps most of those investments, Nigerians are capable and have the capacity to buy those investments. So for me, I think we only need to create enabling environment. I must tell you, the present government has really worked hard in terms of ease of doing business, because unlike before, you cannot register this company. Now online, you can do that, and the capital you can buy. A lot of things have been made easy to an extent, but we need to invest more and take advantage of those opportunities.
All right, unfortunately, we don't have enough time to continue with this discussion. Well, for the next set of leaders that are coming in, there's a lot that needs to be taken care of. FDI, the oil situation, FX, so many things, including security. But yes, do remember to go out there and vote. If you're still sitting at home, please pick up your PVCs, hit the streets, go to your polling units and cast your vote. Always remember that you need to be a part of the solution and not part of the problem if you want to see the country go forward. And one more thing, there's been bouts of vandalism, serious issues around vandalism, with people stealing things needed for electricity or oil. It's the same thing as stealing money from yourself, tearing it up and tossing it away. You need the infrastructure that was set up by the government. So let's take care of the things that are around us. Well, we've come to the end of our show for today. And thank you to my guests for joining us. Thank you so much, Joseph Ago, political and economic analyst. And thank you so much, Dr. Aliu Elias, financial analyst. Well, my name is Chamun Dabeng. Come back again. Let's talk numbers and stay safe.
This program is brought to you in partnership with the Central Bank of Nigeria.